So for journal 2, competency number 5 specifically says intern engages in policy practice. So it is from my understanding that engaging in policy practice would include actively engaging in like regulations and bystanders, so to speak, when it comes to providing services for to people who are registered with a specific agency. And so basically policies, to me, they help create like a positive impact when it comes to social workers promoting professional behaviors, as well as just ensuring that that social workers are following rules and guidelines, and even following the code of ethics to ensure that, when they're participating in social work practice, that it is professional, it is ethical, and it promotes an equal opportunity for all of their clients when it comes to helping provide services. And so within the agency that I am interning at, the policy practice that I would say that I've encountered was my field instructor has given me quite a few trainings to look over and review whenever I have the free time. So some of the trainings that I have participated in or even listened to through an audio, they relate to a lot of the foundation of VOC rehab. And so with the foundation of VOC rehab, it goes like way far back to even with the Americans with Disability Act. And so when it comes to learning about the foundation of VOC rehab, especially for the visually impaired population, one of the figures that sticks out the most is Helen Keller. And Helen Keller, as we all know, was an individual who was born both deaf and blind. And when she was really young, so probably about 5 or 6, her parents hired someone named Annie Sullivan, and Annie taught her how to sign so that way, she could learn how to talk and communicate with people. And they had developed a professional relationship even when Helen became an adult. And Helen Keller grew up to be one of the most extraordinary and inspiring individuals for a lot of people, especially those, who have disabilities, for example, and who have been stigmatized, saying, just being told, oh, you can't do this because you have a disability, or, you can't do that because, you walk funny, something on the lines of that. And so some of the things that, she did that were inspirational, where people look up to her, she learned how to fly a plane. She knew how to read and write in Braille. She wrote a book, I believe. And, she even learned like different tools where she could actually talk. And it's rather than having to use sign language to communicate, which is very inspiring. And so, because of how inspirational Helen Keller was, there are foundations that are under her name when it comes to, the mission and vision of VOC rehab, the Helen Keller Foundation, things like that. And then, even some of the other stuff relating to policy practice are that my field instructor has given me to watch is small videos that give an overview of VOC rehab in general. So some of the videos include, like the purpose of VOC rehab, what VOC rehab does, what is the prime goal of VOC rehab, and even like just the registering process when it comes to wanting to work with individuals wanting to work with VOC rehab, and filling out So basically, like building rapport, filling out an eligibility worksheet, as well as, communicating with clients on, like if you were to um, work with us and if we were able to tell you, yes, we approve of you receiving services from us, what are some goals that you would like to achieve while working with us? And, even though Voc Rehab's prime goal is to help individuals reach the goal of employment, some other stuff that could go in line with employment goals could include like independent living skills, bioptic driving, and even like working on providing funding for cataract surgeries. And I would say that like overall, Voc Rehab follows like the guidelines that are stated within the Americans with Disability Acts, which is a policy relating to with someone who has a disability. Their rights are protected under the American with Disability Acts. So basically, the American with Disability Acts opposes the idea of discrimination towards someone who has a disability. And even within my practicum, it's still all virtual for the time being, and more than likely it's going to remain all virtual for the rest of the semester. But my field instructor is working with me on having me work with my very first client. And because of all the weekly Zoom sessions that we've had since the beginning of the semester, and with my previous experience with communicating with people, especially like over the phone, for instance, my field instructor feels that I am now ready to take the step of having like my very first client and working with them and helping them achieve their goals with Voc Rehab. And I think overall, what some of the challenges that I have encountered is that for the whole month of February, I've been unemployed, and the thing that has really challenged me has been, just staying home and, like being stressed out of finding current employment and, being careful with my finances and all of that. But I think it has also helped me grow, especially with this past snowstorm, because this past snowstorm, one of my professors had mentioned on Blackboard, take a couple of days for yourself, which I did. And, I feel like that the snowstorm in general, yes, it's not fun because, the roads were bad and it conflicts with people being able to go to work or go to the grocery store if need be. However, it's also been a positive influence regarding, sometimes the snow helped us understand that sometimes we need to slow down, and sometimes, we need to understand that, there's nothing wrong with slowing down and taking time for ourselves, especially when we need it the most, and especially when, self-care is very important, especially during this time of the pandemic. And I think this past week I practiced some self-care with the snow, like I went outside for a walk, or, I did like traditions that, I used to do whenever I was a kid and whenever we had a snowstorm. So some of those traditions included making a snow angel or even making snow cream. And then I think now, I just recently got offered a job, and I start training for it this coming week. But I think that once that starts, I feel like that, I'll have a little bit more structure in my life compared to when I was unemployed. And because of the whole lack of structure that I've had this past month, it's been my schedule in general has just been out of whack. But but overall, I'm still doing my best to make sure that I balance everything, and just making sure that I'm obtaining the hours that I need, as well as just communicating with my field instructor, and just still participating in weekly meetings with the overall staff of Voc Rehab. And so I guess that's it. But but for the most part, relating to competency 5, I would say that the policy practice would solely fall onto people learning the foundation of Helen Keller, as well as just how she helps tie into some of the policies that most facilities like Voc Rehab follow when it comes to effective social work practice, and that specifically includes like the American with Disabilities Act.